Join me as I challenge myself to embrace self-compassion using Buddhism-inspired practices for a whole week. In today's fast-paced world, where social media dominates our lives and we're constantly bombarded with unrealistic expectations, it's easy to get caught up in self-criticism and negativity. But what if I told you that there's a way to break free from this cycle of self-doubt and cultivate a deeper sense of self-love and acceptance? Enter Buddhism and the powerful concept of self-compassion. At its core, self-compassion is about treating ourselves with kindness, understanding, and patience, just as we would a close friend. It's about recognizing that we're human, that we make mistakes, and that we're deserving of love and care, flaws and all. But in a world that often emphasizes perfection and achievement, embracing self-compassion can be a radical act of self-care. So why is self-compassion so important? For starters, it's a game changer for our mental health. When we practice self-compassion, we're less likely to succumb to anxiety, depression, and burnout. We're more resilient, more confident, and more likely to take risks and pursue our passions. And let's be real, who wouldn't want that? We all know what it's like to be our own harshest critic. We beat ourselves up over mistakes, perceived flaws, and unmet expectations. We're constantly comparing ourselves to others, and we come up short. But this negative self-talk has a profound impact on our well-being. It erodes our self-worth, makes us feel like we're not enough, and prevents us from living a truly authentic life. Imagine waking up every morning, feeling like you're already behind, already not good enough. The pressure to perform, to achieve, to be perfect is suffocating. And the worst part? We often don't even realize we're doing it to ourselves. We're so accustomed to this negative self-talk that it's become our default mode. Take social media, for example. We curate these highlight reels of our lives, showcasing our accomplishments and hiding our imperfections. But what happens when we log off and reality sets in? We're left feeling inadequate, like we're not measuring up. And it's not just social media, it's the constant barrage of advertisements, the unattainable beauty standards, the unrealistic expectations placed upon us by society. We're so focused on fixing ourselves, on improving ourselves, that we forget to take care of ourselves in the process. We neglect our own needs, our own desires, and our own well-being. And what's the result? Burnout, exhaustion, and a deep-seated sense of dissatisfaction. We all have that one voice in our head, the one that tells us we're not good enough, that we're not worthy of love and respect. It's the voice of self-doubt, of fear, of inadequacy. But what if we could silence that voice, or at the very least, learn to respond to it with kindness and compassion? This is where Buddhism comes in. Buddhism offers a radically different approach to self-compassion, one that's rooted in mindfulness, loving kindness, and a deep understanding of the human experience. At its core, Buddhism recognizes that we're all interconnected, that we're all part of this intricate web of life. And from this place of connection, we can begin to cultivate a sense of compassion, not just for others, but for ourselves as well. The concept of mindfulness is central to Buddhism. It's about being present, fully engaged in the current moment, without judgment or distraction. It's about paying attention to our thoughts, our emotions, and our physical sensations, and responding to them with kindness and understanding. And it's precisely this mindfulness that allows us to develop a greater sense of self-compassion. Loving kindness, or metta, is another key concept in Buddhism. It's about cultivating a sense of love and compassion for all beings, including ourselves. It's about recognizing that we're all deserving of love, care, and understanding, regardless of our flaws or imperfections. And it's this loving kindness that allows us to develop a deeper sense of self-love and acceptance. The Four Noble Truths are the cornerstone of Buddhism. They're a profound wisdom that offers us a way out of suffering and into a life of greater peace, joy, and contentment. The first truth acknowledges that suffering exists, the second truth recognizes that suffering stems from craving and aversion, the third truth reveals that suffering can be overcome, and the fourth truth outlines the path to the cessation of suffering. But how do we apply these teachings to our everyday lives? How do we cultivate self-compassion in the midst of chaos and uncertainty? For me, it's been a journey of experimentation, of trial and error. I've tried meditation, mindfulness, and loving-kindness practices, and I've found that they've had a profound impact on my well-being. One of the most powerful experiences I've had was when I was struggling with anxiety. I was in a dark place, feeling overwhelmed and helpless. But I remembered the teachings of Buddhism, and I began to practice loving-kindness meditation. I repeated phrases like, "May I be happy, may I be healthy, may I be at peace" to myself, and slowly but surely, I began to feel a sense of calm wash over me. It wasn't easy, and it wasn't instantaneous. But with time, patience, and practice, I began to develop a greater sense of self-compassion. I began to recognize that I was doing the best I could, that I was deserving of love and care, and that I was worthy of happiness and peace. I want to share a powerful anecdote with you. I was speaking with a friend who had been struggling with depression for years. They told me that one day, they realized that they were treating themselves with the same harshness and criticism that they would never dare to use on a friend. And in that moment, something shifted. They began to practice self-compassion, and their entire world changed. They began to heal, to forgive themselves, and to live a life of greater purpose and meaning. For me, this anecdote illustrates the transformative power of self-compassion. It shows us that we don't have to be held captive by our negative self-talk, that we don't have to be limited by our flaws and imperfections. We can choose to treat ourselves with kindness, with patience, and with understanding. We can choose to cultivate self-compassion. So what can we take away from this discussion on self-compassion in Buddhism? Firstly, self-compassion is a radical act of self-care that can have a profound impact on our mental well-being. Secondly, Buddhism offers a powerful framework for cultivating self-compassion through mindfulness, loving-kindness, and the Four Noble Truths. And thirdly, practicing self-compassion takes time, patience, and practice, but the results are well worth it. As we conclude this video, I want to leave you with a question: what would your life be like if you treated yourself with the same kindness and compassion that you offered to others? Take a moment to reflect on this, and I encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're interested in learning more about mindfulness practices, be sure to check out our next video, where we'll dive deeper into the world of meditation and mindfulness.